How did you use new media technologies in the construction, research, planning and evaluation stages? Stuart Hall 1980 suggested that media text encode meaning to get a preferred reading. This comes under the heading of mediation. To understand this concept of mediation at A2, I underwent some textual analysis of pre-existing local newspapers such as the Eckington Leader and Sheffield Star. Here I was able to delve into the typical codes and conventions used in products in order to gain specific meanings and readings. This created a basis for a template in which I would use in order to be sure my A2 newspaper followed the specific codes and conventions so it came across as being real, using media technologies. My A2 coursework had the preferred reading of community journalism. I then had to remold the ideologies I already knew in order to be successful at creating a successful product in these means. Concentrating specifically on the Eckington Leader as a model, I was able to pick out key points in which I wanted to adapt in my own newspaper product, so it still echoed the real existing conventions of a newspaper. For example, using a banner page listing towards the bottom of the page and an information banner under the masthead, which contained the Cell Line website and also the date in which the newspaper was produced. This added continuity to my product and also let it resemble existing media text. Bortis 1977 commented on how photos in newspapers were heavily edited to create a meaning. In my personal experience of using photographs in my newspaper, I didn't choose to overtly edit them to create a meaning, as I wanted to keep hold of the natural elements created in the scene. For example, with my snow pictures, it was very much about how the cold weather was affecting local people, so therefore I didn't need to edit them as such, because the sheer volume of emotion captured in the photographs was enough to convey the right message. This also kept with the theme of community, and software such as Adobe Photoshop Elements allowed me to do this in a creative manner without taking much away from my photography at all. During my A2 project, I was able to access a variety of digital technology available to me so that I could create my media products. But in order to use them correctly and successfully, I had to know the exact conventions I wanted to encode in my product before actually trialing making them in any which way. Not only did I textual analyse pre-existing newspapers, I also read them to gather exactly what went into them and what made them desirable to specific target audiences set by the producer. The digital technologies I have used during my A2 media project. Bubbleless, online brainstorming tool. Bubbleless. I used this program to brainstorm my original ideas for my media product. It was an easy web page to navigate and was a good way of displaying all the different strands of ideas that I string together. This was a useful piece of software mainly for my planning stages. As you can see from the video, it was just a simple click needed to make different lines of bubbles along with connections, and it was relatively simple to alter the bubble colour if you had preference on what you wanted it to look like colouring wise. Facebook, an online social network. Facebook was the social network I used in order to gain some feedback on my masthead. Although the people on my profile aren't my target demographic, I knew their opinions would be worth it. Here you can see some of the comments I received on my account. Many said they liked the Times font and the colour, so it would attract people, and it suited the newspaper demographic. Photoshop Elements 5.0 Photo Manipulation Software. Photoshop Elements. This was software used in college. Whilst at home I used a different variety of Photoshop to add extra details to my product and ancillary text. Photoshop Elements was easy enough to navigate since I had already used Photoshop at home and had used this particular software last year for my AS Media coursework. Photoshop Elements allowed me to be that much more creative with my main product in order to add that much bit of individuality to the product, so that yes, it would be similar conventions of already existing newspapers, but also unique in its own ways. I could use features such as the crop tool, the colouring tool and the text tool, all to add something different to my newspaper. Photoshop CS2 Photo Manipulation Software. Photoshop CS2, the version of software I used at home. As you can see, the layout is fairly similar, as are the tools used, but the differences I noted were the use of the added colouring. In Elements you can only add photo fillers but not coloured ones of your own making. Other differences included the variety of fonts I had at home compared with college, and also my ability to add effects that in the college version didn't have. You can also comment on my prior knowledge of the software enabled the process of construction to happen more quickly than those that may have been using it for the first time. Posterous was another piece of digital technology I hadn't come across until last year. Of course I knew of other blogging sites like Blogger and Tumblr. Posterous is an example of Web 2.0 technology, O'Reilly 2004. This means the technology is interactive in the sense that audiences can post and edit content on the blog to certain degrees. It also links to the idea of two-way communication. Information is no longer one way, but made up of collaborations. Using Posterous allowed me to keep track of where I was going with my product, and was also very useful for keeping everything in one place and organised in such a way that things were easy to find. The blog was also a useful backup should hard copies be lost, since there was a download feature enabled so that if I needed to, I could download my work in case of deletions. The blog also helped when it came to analysing my past work, allowing me to look back over what I'd already done to an extent and see comparisons that were made. One problem I did find with Posterous, however, was when it wouldn't work on the college computers, or load my blog specifically, so I had to wait at home until I could update it. YouTube was where I was able to upload any videos relevant to my media work if they couldn't be uploaded directly to my blog. YouTube is a handy online video hosting site that enables simple and fast uploads as well as private or public consumption, depending on the settings that you have chosen. This was useful during my planning stages as well as the evaluation stages. Once my videos were uploaded, it was possible to fiddle around with them by adding on-screen annotations if needed and in-box descriptions for the purpose of displaying meaning, whilst adding decorative features like video box planners. Quark 8 is a publishing software, thus why it would be useful for making my newspaper. Also, by using it, I would be actually meeting the criteria of real media conventions, since real newspaper producers would use similar software to manage their page spreads. Therefore, I was creating a similar meaning through the codes and conventions around layout. Using Quark 8, I had to use the master layout page to ensure layouts for the house style were the same. This helped to align text, banners, images in the correct place, so the conventions were kept to. Here were some of the other pieces of software I used when making my media product. Windows Movie Maker was used for making videos such as these evaluations. Unled Video Studio 8 was also used in video processes, as well as Microsoft PowerPoint slideshows for our media pictures, and Microsoft Word for any documentation needed, such as planning diaries. All in all, I believe new media technologies were most useful in the construction and research stages of my A2 media project, purely because without the internet I wouldn't have been able to do the research I needed to understand newspapers as well as I did. And to construct them, you obviously need software to be able to publish them correctly, otherwise it would just be a hand drawing.